The film introduces Nick Twisp through his own narration, a voracious reader, aspiring novelist, and devoted Sinatra fan who lives with his mother Estelle in Oakland. He is also, as he states plainly, still a virgin. His domestic situation is not ideal. His mother's boyfriend Jerry is a truck driver and compulsive liar who exudes an unearned confidence that Nick finds exhausting. His father George lives separately and keeps his support payments minimal. Everyone around Nick appears to be living a full and physical life. Nick is not. When the sailors Jerry sold a car with a banana in the transmission, come to collect their $900, Jerry decides the household needs a vacation. He packs Estelle and Nick into another vehicle and drives them to a trailer park in Clear Lake, California, where he has arranged to stay in a friend's place. Nick, who describes himself as having nothing to lose because he has nothing, goes along. The trailer park's neighbor, Mrs. Saunders, stops by to introduce her daughter Sheeni. She volunteers Nick to carry Sheenie's grocery bags as a gesture of community. Nick agrees immediately. Sheeni Saunders is unlike anyone Nick has encountered. She is well-read, casually European in her tastes, sharply funny, and completely comfortable with herself. Her parents are rigidly religious. She wants to live in France. She plays Serge Gainsbourg on vinyl. Nick is finished within the first 5 minutes. She takes him to see her house. Her father bought it specifically to look down on the world, she says without irony. And they spend the afternoon talking about Fellini and whether the director of Tokyo Story was Ozu or Mizoguchi, and why Serge Gainsbourg is better than Sinatra, and what it means to want to live somewhere completely different from where you are. She invites him to the beach the next morning. At the beach, she asks him to apply sunscreen to her exposed areas, and when Nick visibly responds to this, she comments on it without embarrassment, noting with clinical interest that girls have the advantage of not showing their interest. Nick asks if she has a boyfriend. She does. His name is Trent. He is tall, speaks French fluently, plays piano, swims competitively, and writes futurist percussive poetry. He is, in other words, everything Nick is not. Nick invents a fictional girlfriend in response, and they both enjoy the pretense of each other's competition. Their time together continues. Nick follows her into the woods for a spontaneous hike. She reads his journal while supposedly caressing his pocket. She kisses him. He tells her he loves her. She tells him, with perfect composure, that of course he does, and that his hormones certainly do. When Nick has to leave, Jerry's back gives out and he needs his painkillers in Oakland, Sheeni needs Nick to take something with him. Her dog Albert, a French bulldog who shredded the family Bible and whom her parents have declared a symbol of evil. Nick agrees. Albert becomes his only tangible link to the person he loves. Sheeni leaves him a note tucked into his pocket explaining that she was charmed by everything she found in his journal and suggesting they simply live and see what happens. Back in Oakland, things continue declining. Jerry dies of a heart attack in a Dallas bar and is shipped back to his wife in Dallas, a wife who comes as news to Estelle, along with the information that the Lincoln is being claimed by the same wife since Jerry registered it to Estelle's address. The car and the man are both gone in the same afternoon. A police officer named Lance begins appearing to comfort Estelle in her grief, and Nick finds Lance's presence deeply aggravating. Lance starts spending nights. Nick raises his objections in the most pointed language he can produce, which turns out to be fairly pointed. The household becomes a sustained argument. Sheeni calls regularly from California. She has also been working the other side of the equation. She called Nick's father George, pretending to be a headhunter, and arranged a job offer for him at a magazine called Progressive Plywood based in Ukaya, the same town where Sheeni lives with her parents. The magazine, Nick later learns with some horror, is owned by the family of Trent Preston. The plan is taking shape regardless. If Nick can get kicked out of his mother's house in Oakland, his father's new job in Ukaya gives him somewhere to go. Sheeni's instructions on this point are clear and direct. He has to be bad, Nicky. Very, very bad. What his own character cannot produce, Nick decides to manufacture. He creates a supplementary persona named Francois Dillinger. Bold, contemptuous of authority, entirely without Nick's natural inclination toward politeness and law-abiding behavior. Francois advises from the inside, appearing in Nick's imagination to push him toward increasingly dramatic choices. With Francois's guidance, Nick transforms himself into what his own narration calls a textbook juvenile delinquent. He antagonizes Lance at every turn, smoking and threatening and making the household miserable. Then he goes further. He steals his mother's car and the trailer attached to it, drives it to a parking lot with Francois supervising, and sets the whole assembly on fire. The resulting blaze, described on the local news as a $5 million fire that hospitalizes several firefighters, is slightly beyond the minimum destruction Nick had requested. Nick and Francois flee the scene. Estelle, confronted with the police description of the arsonist, calls George and tells him to come get their son. Lance covers for Nick by claiming the car was reported stolen before the incident. Nick is sent to Ukaya to live with his father. He calls Sheeni immediately to tell her what he has done. She is impressed and moved and tells him it is the most romantic thing she has ever heard. He goes to her parents' house to find her. Her father refuses to let him near the door. Sheeni has been sent away to a French preparatory school in Santa Cruz called l'École des Arts, which she has wanted to attend for years and which she has apparently convinced her parents to fund by framing Nick's arson and its attendant chaos as the final proof that Ukaya is too dangerous for her. Her plan worked. Nick's plan also worked. They are both now exactly where they wanted to be and nowhere near each other. Nick settles into life with his father George, who is indifferent to Albert and not thrilled about either of them. At school, he meets Vijay Joshi, who becomes his first genuine friend in Ukaya. Vijay also turns out to have been Sheeni's locker neighbor at the local school and is therefore a useful source of background and context. Together, they parse Sheeni's letters, which arrive with regularity and information. Her school operates entirely in French. English is prohibited even in medical emergencies. Her roommate is a woman named Taggarty from New York who has apparently slept with a significant number of people and intends to increase the count substantially before college. Vijay finds this detail extremely interesting. Then comes the revelation that stops Nick cold. Trent Preston has transferred to the same French school as Sheeni. Sheeni describes this as a coincidence. Nick does not credit this at all. Nick and Vijay borrow Vijay's grandmother's car. She is on life support, and as Vijay notes, permission is not a salient issue, and drive 200 miles to Santa Cruz to find the school. The campus operates entirely in French, and the students treat the concept of English as something between a mystery and an insult. Nick works through the crowd asking everyone he meets for Sheeni Saunders, mostly in English. He eventually finds her. The evening goes well until the school administration becomes aware that 2 uninvited visitors are on campus and Nick and Vijay have to run. Something important was almost reached and then the opportunity closes. The car breaks down on the drive home and they have to call for a rescue. They make it back to Ukaya eventually. When Thanksgiving arrives and Sheeni comes home to her parents, Nick finds a way in. He borrows women's clothing from someone in the neighborhood and talks his way past the Saunders parents at the door, then gets to Sheeni's bedroom and tells her everything he has done since the arson. What he sacrificed, what he burned, what he built from the wreckage, and why. He tells her she is the one thing in his life he has ever had a reason to fight for. She hears all of it, and she knows he means it. They forgive each other and come together. Before any further progress can be made, the parents return and Trent is with them. Nick exits through the window. The film's animation sequences appear throughout as Francois manifests to advise, criticize, and push Nick toward escalating decisions. Francois is the version of Nick that does not hesitate, does not apologize, and does not care about consequences, which is precisely why he is both useful and catastrophic. By the time the legal system catches up with Nick, and he is arrested and processed, Francois's work is more or less complete. Sheeni comes to see Nick through the barrier and tells him through the glass he will be out in 3 months. She will wait. The film closes with the 3 months gone. Sheeni picks Nick up. Albert is with them. They drive away from the building together. Francois presumably stays behind. Nick, who came into the story identifying himself primarily by his virginity and the absence of anyone to lose it with, leaves it having committed arson, grand theft auto, and 2 counts of accidental property destruction. All in the service of a girl who described his capacity for badness as one of his most attractive qualities, and who was, characteristically, correct about this.